Welcome back to the channel into another WNBA video. We got a 5-game slate to dive into for Sunday, September 1st. So we're going to go over each of those games. We'll break them down and analyze them and talk about which way that I'm leaning as far as the points on the spread. We'll also talk about any player props that I found in those games that I like. And then any picks that I put in officially myself, I'm going to list down there in that pinned comment. So make sure you check back in. That way you can see if you'd like to ride along with me. Now, before we dive into today's games, we need to go over what we took yesterday and how that ended up going down. And now, unfortunately, I was not able to get a video out yesterday, just very short on time, and I do apologize for that. But we did end up putting the picks over there in the community section in a post. We took Marina Mabry over 14.5 points, and we do hit on that one. Took Stephanie Dolson under 1.5 3-pointers made. She hits 4, so bad read on that one. We don't cash, but we did take DeWanna Bonner under 24.5 points plus rebounds, and we do cash on that one. So a 2-in-1 day on the one game on the slate. But like I said, 5 games on the slate for today, so plenty of opportunity for us to look for some cash, man. So let's dive into these games. But before we do, you see right down there, there's a like button. Make sure you smash that for me, guys, and hit subscribe if you have not already. Now, let's go ahead and get right into this. We have the Seattle Storm taking on the Connecticut Sun. The Sun are laying 1.5 points, and we have a over-under sitting at 154.5. The Sun come into this one on a back-to-back with short travel involved, fresh off an 11-point win over the Mystics that closed out a 3-game road trip. They'll have 3 straight at home, starting with this one here. The Sun are 4-1 in their last 5, but only 2-3 against the spread. The Storm have the rest advantage, but they've struggled as of late, winning just 2 of their last 6 games, and going back further, they haven't covered now in 8 straight games. This is the first game of a 3-game road trip that has them back here in Connecticut in 2 days, and then on to New York to face the Liberty, who just beat them by 13 this past Friday. So a tough stretch coming up for the Storm. They have looked good on the injury front, but the Sun have Tiffany Mitchell listed as a game-time decision due to illness. But more importantly, their star and best player, Alyssa Thomas, is also listed as a game-time decision. She suffered a right leg injury yesterday against the Mystics, and being on a back-to-back, we're going to have to check to see closer to tip if she's going to be able to go for this one or not. It should be noted, though, that she was available to return to that game if the Sun needed her against the Mystics, but they were able to pull away early in the third and not look back, really. With the Lynx right on their heels in the standing for second place, and Coach White basically alluding to, Alyssa Thomas remaining out of that game after the injury, more as a preventative measure, feels like she's going to have to give this one a go, man. I don't know. I don't see her sitting out personally, so I'm gonna go about this as if she's playing. Seattle has struggled offensively in the last 5 too, averaging only 80 points per game on just 40% shooting. That's third overall. In that time and for the course of the year, they have shot the 3 ball at the lowest percentage in the W. Connecticut gives up the fewest made field goals, and they are holding opponents to just 74 points per game. That is the lowest overall. I've talked a few times now about the addition of Marina Mabry for Connecticut and how valuable of a move that was, and I felt like this was going to improve the Sun offense, adding more perimeter shooting, and that we could expect to see their 3-point numbers improve, and we have. 11th on the year in threes made, 7th in shooting percentage, but over their last 5, they are 7th in makes and 3rd in shooting percentage. Seattle on the year has been solid defensively, ranking 4th in opponents' 3-point shooting percentage and 2nd as far as overall field goal percentage, but in their last 5, they've struggled, allowing just under 45% shooting from the field. That's good for only 8th in the W, and then they sit at 2nd to last in opponents' 3-point shooting percentage while giving up the most 3-pointers made. Staying in the last 5 games, the Sun are scoring the 3rd most points in the paint, the most fast break points, and the most points scored off of turnovers, also leading the league in steals at this time. Seattle has been efficient with the ball, giving up the 2nd fewest turnovers. However, for the fewest points scored off of turnovers, the 3rd fewest fast break points, but they are giving up the 4th most points in the paint. I like Connecticut here, man. Seattle has been a mess, and in my opinion, one of the most inconsistent teams in the W, probably second to the Aces. They fare much better at home, but they're going just 7-7 on the road, while the Sun are an impressive 12-3 at home. So give me the Sun in this one, laying that 1.5 points. But for the total, I'm slightly leaning under. The Sun in their last 5 at home have hit under this mark at a 60% rate, while their one prior match this year between these two teams landed well below this number at just 133 in a 72-61 Sun victory. Both teams' bread and butter is defense, and I feel like we're going to see a tough, physical, grinded out one here. Now, before we move on to the next game, I did want to talk a little bit about Outlier. That's what you're seeing right here on the screen. It's a wonderful tool, guys. If you are not familiar with it, make sure you check down into the description. We will have a link for a free 7-day trial that you can try this out and see for yourself. But man, there's so many awesome features on this website here. But the two sections that I go to literally on a daily while making these videos, come over here to games. You can filter it down by the sport. I come over here to games, and it gives me each and every game on the slate for the day and breaks it down really nice and easily for you. You got the money line, the spread, the over under, and we can click into all of these, right? And just check it out from from the sun here, from the money line in their last 10 and their last 5 and their last 20 head to head. The team rankings head to head, their offense versus their defense. We can switch it up and see the other way around. It's just got every single bit of information that you're going to look for, diving through 5 or 6 different sites as you're trying to cap these games. And it's going to condense it all into one page for you. And then you can also, come up here and see which sportsbook is going to give you the best odds for whatever pick that you're looking at. Like I said, we can check it out at the money line. We can check out the spread. We can start breaking it down by quarter, by halftime, just so many different ways to go about this. And then I also like to come over here to the props. Now this is going to give me every single prop available for all of the games on the slate that day, right? But then you can break it down even further. You can have these filters. I've got this filter set up right here that I saved, and you can do this on a regular with any sport. Any kind of way that you want to set your filters up, right? So I have my filter set up to where my odds, it's going to only show me picks between -130 and +159, and picks that have hit in the last 10 at a 65 to 100% rate. So I can click that there, and now all of a sudden that's all I'm seeing, right? And then it's just color coded from there, guys. Green is good, red is bad, right? So then we're just looking for a bunch of green across the board here, when as much green as we can find, and then we can click into these. And then it's just more and more data. We can look at her in her last 5. Derek Hamby, has she hit this double-double in her last 5? Yes, 80% of the time, man. So it's just a wonderful tool. There are so many different ways to go about it. Like I said, just wanted to dive in and show you guys this real quick. And there is a link down there in the description. Make sure you guys click that so you can get that free 7-day trial. That way you can see how great of a tool this is just for yourself. The next game we're looking at is going to be the Chicago Sky taking on the Minnesota Lynx. The Lynx are laying 12 in this one. We have an over-under sitting at 157.5. Now, the Sky are on the road here for the first of 2 straight, and Chicago is just 1-6 since returning to play from the Olympic break. Losers of 5 straight now. The Lynx, on the other hand, are 6-1 since the break, but fresh off of an 18-point loss to the 10th place Dallas Wings. Minnesota also covered in all 6 of their victories leading up to that loss. Alana Smith of the Lynx will be a game-time decision with a left ankle injury, while Kennedy Carter of Chicago is listed as a game-time decision as well, but most likely out as she has COVID. Without Carter and the Lynx coming in, looking for a bounce back from that embarrassing loss to Dallas, I like this spot for Minnesota. They will also be looking to keep pace with Connecticut for that second seed, as they are just a half game back currently. The Lynx in their last 5 have averaged 88 points per game, third in the W, while the Sky have dropped to dead last with just under 75 points per game. Not ideal when matched up with a Minnesota defense who on the year has ranked 3rd as far as defensive rating, 2nd in points allowed, giving up the lowest 3-point and overall shooting percentage from the field. So I'm going to lean Minnesota for this one, but that's a lot of points to lay, so I may just stay away from this one as far as the spread is concerned, to be honest. But for the total, I'm going to look to the under. Without Carter out there, Chicago's offense just struggles majorly. The Lynx have hit under this number at a 60% rate in their last 10 at home as well. These two, they met early on in the season, landing under this number, well under this number, in a 77-66 Minnesota dub. The player prop I like for this one would be Courtney Williams of Minnesota. Her points plus assists over 15.5. Now, if we look down here at this insight from Outlier, she's hit over this number, this 15.5 points plus assists in 8 straight games at home, hitting at 18 points plus assists on average for, like I said, a 100% hit rate at home. And then in her last 5, she's still hitting at an 80% rate 4 out of 5 times. Like I said, man, outlier just color codes it for us. That green is good, that red is bad. But 4 out of 5 times there. And then if we push it back a little bit further, still hitting at an 80% rate in her last 10 games. Now, if we look at Chicago specifically against guards, a position that Courtney plays, they are 7th in points allowed and just 9th in assists allowed. So I do like this look for us. Like I said, it's Courtney Williams, points plus assist over 15.5. The next game I'm looking at is going to be the Aces and the Mercury. The Aces are laying 4 in this one with the over-under sitting at 168. Now, anyone watching these videos knows, man, I'm flat sick of the Aces, right? I've backed them over and over again, waiting on the turnaround, waiting on them to get more consistent and right this ship, and then I finally fade them, and what happens? We lose our dream plus 10.5 bet over the Aces right on the damn hook as Vegas finally covers, winning by 11. So, they are just 2-3 in their last 5, only covering once in 10 tries, the one time that I fade them. The Mercury are home for the third game of 5 straight. They are also just 2-3 in their last 5, 1-3-1 to the number. These two they've met 3 times on the year so far, Vegas winning 2 of the 3, and the last meeting back in mid-June by just 4 in a high-scoring 103-99 affair. Should be noted that the Mercury were able to beat the Aces in Vegas by 10 without Brittany Griner. She's obviously back now, but the Mercury will be without Becca Allen still with that right hamstring injury. And Jackie Young, she did sit out the Aces last game for rest purposes. She's listed as a game time decision for the same thing here, but I would assume that she would be available. I don't see why she would need the rest for back-to-back games. Maybe I'm just being biased and wanted to stay true to my no bet Vegas statement, right? But I can't lay 4.5 with them on the road to a Phoenix team that's already beaten them once on the year without Brittany Griner, and have played better at home this year, going 9-6 both straight up and to the number at the house. They've covered this number in 2 of the 3 meetings with Vegas as well on the year. So in their last 5, Phoenix has struggled offensively, just 10th in offensive rating, but they have made huge strides on the defensive end, sitting at 4th in defensive rating at that time. The Aces, meanwhile, defensively have slipped to just 11th. They have consistently on the year struggled guarding the perimeter, and Phoenix can beat you a lot of different ways from deep. We know Taurasi can light it up from deep. She's the W's all-time leader in three-pointers made by a nice margin at that. My favorite player, Kalia Copper, can light it up from deep and just about anywhere that there's a basketball and a basketball hoop. Natasha Cloud, she can get it going from the outside, as well as Sophie Cunningham, just to name a few on this Phoenix side. And then Monique Billings has also been a solid addition for Phoenix. She's providing more rebounding prowess and interior depth for the Mercury overall. So I like how Phoenix matches up here, and I like them to keep this one close at home, if not win outright. I'll take them plus the points here all day. The Aces are on autopilot until the playoffs, man. That's all I've seen from them. The Mercury still are looking to clinch their spot in the playoffs, so give me the team with something to play for here. For the total, I'm going to lean under again. Comment under down there in honor of all these under leans so far, guys. And let me know that you guys have made it this far into the video. But both these teams have hit under this mark at a 70% rate in their last 10 games. Phoenix has hit under in all 5 of their last 5 games. So this may be one that I take a look at running a parlay with an alternate spread and total, possibly buying a few more points with Phoenix and then raising that total sum for an underplay to grab a little insurance on both of those, but also be able to get this play, get a play that I'm confident in at plus money. Player prop that I would look at in this one is Sophie Cunningham. Her rebounds over 4.5, and we can catch this one at plus money right now, guys. Now, in her last 5 games, she is hitting this one at an 80% rate, 4 out of 5 times. When we push it back to her last 10, she's still clipping this at a 70% rate. And then this outlier insight, we can see that she has hit over this number in 6 of her last 7 games, averaging 6 rebounds per game in that time. And if we look at the Aces and their defense against rebounds, specifically against the forwards, they rank dead last in rebounds allowed. Now, our next game on the slate is going to be the Indiana Fever taking on the Dallas Wings. The Fever are laying 3 with the over-under sitting at 183.5. Now, guys, don't look now, but the Wings, yes, the Dallas Wings, who have been the worst team in the W for much of the season, are on a 3-game winning streak with wins over the Sparks, Aces, and most impressively, the Lynx, who they routed by 18 on Friday. Surprising. Very surprising. That defense that hasn't been able to cover a wall with paint held a Minnesota team that's been pretty hot offensively to just 76 points. So definitely, like I said, very surprising. They've now covered in 3 of their last 4 as well. The Fever have won 3 in a row themselves and 5 of their last 6, covering in each of those wins. Since the return from the break, this has been one of the best teams in the W, and we'll get into the numbers in just a moment to back that up. The Fever have a clean injury report for this one, and Dallas is just listing Stephanie Soares as probable here. Indiana struggled out of the gate, starting just 3-10, but turned things around and have since gone 13-6. Offensively to start the year, there was little rhythm or efficiency, leading to an absurd amount of turnovers. But with time to practice and gel as a unit over the season, they have transformed into one of the league's best. In their last 5, they are rated at 3rd offensively. And then defense has been their biggest struggle on the year, right? Well, their Achilles heel, if you will. But in the last 5, they have jumped all the way up to 5th in defensive rating. And then as far as overall net rating, they're sitting at 1st in the last 5 games. So yeah, man, this Fever team is playing some ball, guys. But so has Dallas in their own right, man. Expectations for this team were much higher than what we've seen from them so far on the year. But we got to keep in mind the injuries that they've dealt with for most of the season leading into the break. And then, they're finally pretty much at full health with just their backup center listed as probable coming into this one here. Dallas is 5th for net rating over the last 5 games, 2nd offensively, but where they've struggled all year and still now, even with the returns from injury and with this recent win streak, they still struggle onto the defensive end. Over their last 5 in the entirety of the season, they rank dead last in defensive rating. This is the 2 highest scoring teams over the last 5 games. Dallas at 89 points per game, Indiana at 88. Dallas is shooting at 46% overall. That's 2nd. The Fever at 45%, 4th. Dallas is getting it done on the inside, though, man. They're ranking just 9th in three-pointers made, while Indiana is making the most threes over this time. Staying in the last 5, Dallas is allowing the 5th most threes per game, but only at a 31% shooting rate. That's 2nd in the W. They are giving up the 3rd highest shooting percentage and the most points per game. The Fever are giving up the 3rd lowest shooting percentage overall from the field. So the Wings are thriving out of the paint. They're leading the W in points in the paint in the last 5. But again, Indiana has been, they've been stout defensively lately, holding opponents to the 3rd lowest mark from there. So, all things considered, man, I like Indiana in this one. It's a matter of anything you can do, I can do better. So sure, Dallas is playing pretty damn good offensively, but so is Indiana. And I'll trust them and their consistency on that end of the court over a Wings team that has just started to get right. But the deciding factor here is on the defensive end. Indiana has been much better here than Dallas, and we have to keep in mind these two met right before the break, and the Wings pulled off an upset in Dallas. So I think with revenge on the mind and all things considered that we already talked about here, I gotta lean Indiana for this one. And then for the total, get to an extent why this number is so high, with these being the 2 highest scoring teams as of late. But I feel like Dallas hits a wall here. And that wall being that Indiana defense. I could definitely see a letdown against the Fever here. Indiana has hit under this mark at an 80% rate in their last 10 and a 100% rate in their last 5. The Wings have landed under this mark at an 80% rate in their last 5. So I think we see the Fever put up a lot of points here, but I'm not sure I feel the same way for Dallas. So, maybe we don't look at the full game total for this one. Maybe this is a Dallas team total under, or even potentially a Fever team total over. Now, a player prop that I will look at in this one would be Kelsey Mitchell. Her points over 20.5. Now, we can get this at almost even money, minus 102. Now, if we look at her in her last 5, she's hit this at a 100% rate, crushing this number. In her last 10, we can push it back a little bit further, and she's still hitting at an 80% rate, 8 out of 10 times. If we look at this insight from Outlier, now she has hit in 5 of her last 6 games on the road, averaging 21.7 points per game in that time, hitting at an 83% rate. Now, if we look at Dallas as well, they just rank dead last in points allowed, right? Specifically against guards, 10th. So not much better there. So we got to love this here for Kelsey Mitchell, who has just been on fire coming out of that Olympic break. Then our final game on the slate, we have the Atlanta Dream taking on the Los Angeles Sparks. The Dream are laying 3.5 in this one. We have an over-under sitting at 163. The Sparks have a 2-day rest advantage and are at home for this one, but they have only won twice in their last 10 tries. They're coming off of a huge win over the Liberty, however, and getting big games from Derek Hamby, Ray Burrell, and Rakea Jackson in that one. The Dream are on the third game of a four-game road trip, and after winning their first three in a row out of the Olympic break, they have now dropped four straight. They lost to Vegas by 11 on Friday. So Ari McDonald of the Sparks is a game-time decision, while Laisha Clarendon of LA will be out. Their last five games, the Sparks rank 6th in points per game, scoring 82 per, while shooting a third-best 45% from the field. They are hitting from the restricted area at a 69% rate that is first in the W, and in the paint outside of the restricted area, just under 9 field goals made per game, also first, and at a 48% shooting rate, good for second. That's leading to just under 41 points in the paint per game, also second in the league. The Dream in their last five are just middle of the pack, 6th as far as points allowed in the paint. They're giving up the lowest shooting percentage to the opposition from inside the restricted area, but outside the restricted area in the paint, they're giving up the highest. They are also allowing the 5th fewest points per game at 79 points per game. So I like the Sparks here, man. I'm going to lean LA. The Dream haven't covered this number in 9 of their last 10 tries on the road now, while the Sparks are hitting this at home at a 50% rate and have covered this line in 2 straight games. For the total, in their last 5 at home, the Sparks are hitting over this number at an 80% rate, while the Dream on the road in their last 5 are hitting to the under at a 60% rate. I'm going to slightly lean over for this one, just, basically basing this off of my LA Spark lean, but I don't feel too strongly about the spread or the total in this game whatsoever. But a play I do feel strongly about, and I could definitely see making its way down there into that pin comment, would be Rakea Jackson. Her points and rebounds over 17.5. If we look at this insight from Outlier, she has exceeded this number in 7 of her last 8 games versus bottom 5 defenses for rebounds allowed. And with that one under was against that stout Minnesota defense, guys. And then if we look at her in her last 5, 100% hit rate. She has been crushing this line. Then in her last 10, push it back a little bit further, she's still smacking that at a 8 out of 10 rate. And then she did hit in their last head-to-head meeting as well. We got to keep in mind she's a rookie. So what's this, May 15th? Man, that's like, what, the first, maybe second game of the season? That's at the very beginning of the year as well. So obviously getting acclimated to the league. And then looking at Atlanta against Ford specifically, they are just 7th in points allowed and just 9th in rebounds allowed. So I'm loving this one here. We can get it at minus 115. So that's going to wrap it up here for another episode. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the content. I hope you found it helpful or useful in any kind of way. And if you did, please do not forget to smash that like button down below and hit subscribe if you have not already. That way you don't miss out on any of the content that we are dropping daily. And before I get out of here, let's not forget about that NFL Survivor Pool, guys. Make sure that you click down into the pinned comment or the description. There will be a link to access that NFL Survivor Pool if you have not already. It's $10 to enter. You can get up to 5 entries at $10 each for the opportunity to win the the grand prize of $2,700, man, and it's winner takes all. If you don't know about Survivor Pools, it's really simple, man. You just pick who you think's going to have the best opportunity to win that week. And then if they win, you move on to the next round. If they don't, you are knocked out. You did not survive, man. But the kicker is you cannot pick the same team more than 1 week in a row. So once you pick them 1 week, man, that is it. If they win, awesome, you move on to the next round, but you cannot pick them again moving forward. So you got to be strategic about it, man. Make sure that you pick the right team each week. Somebody's going to be a lucky winner, like I said, of $2,700 if we're able to fill that pot up. So, guys, make sure you get it in there. Share it with your friends as well. Enough rambling on here, man. It is late. I got to hop off here, get this video edited for you guys, get it posted. And, man, I hope we have a great day tomorrow. Let's cash. I'll see you guys on the next video.